Coach Rob, we're back, dude, on a race weekend. How we doing,
Yeah.
my man?
Hey, good evening, buddy. It's good to see you. You feeling half human yet?
Yeah, and I was a victim of the COVID. It's actually for me, yeah, it sucked. It's been like a bad cold. The quarantining and staying away from everybody's probably the worst part of it.
Sure.
But
Absolutely.
I know it's very serious. It didn't hit me as hard as it's hit a lot of people, but it does suck. I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's
so
crazy. On today being Sunday, on Wednesday, I actually texted this to you and Hopper, but 11 people that I work with, some had been at Loretta's, some had not been at Loretta's. It was just like it all just kind of hit at once. And it was interesting because we had a couple people that felt bad for a day or two, but for the most part, it was like, just achy, running a fever. But fortunately, nothing significant. But I'm glad you're able to make this week's show, man. For earlier in the week, I was wondering how you were even going to do it.
I did a lot of sleeping. I'll say that. There was one
There
day
you
where I
go.
did sleep for 16 hours.
Yep.
And I don't
Well,
normally sleep for 16 hours. That was
and I want to turn the subject from something negative to something positive. I was talking with Connor Fields earlier today, and
oh,
our buddy's feeling good. He is sleeping a lot. He even put it on his Instagram post for those that follow. So thank goodness he's feeling good. But the brain bleeding and the shearing and all that, I mean, it's pretty significant. I mean, we knew it was bad, but I don't think we. I mean, can we ever understand to what magnitude? And not to put a somber note on the beginning of the show, but I definitely want to give a shout out to the gentleman from Loretta's that didn't make it. Thoughts to his entire family. That's never a cool thing, but rough week in that regards. You know what I mean?
that was gnarly. And I'm going to put up his picture and name on the video when we send it out, just
Yeah,
because you know what, as a racer, I appreciate that they didn't hide it. There's
yeah,
been deaths in the past in our industry where they've hidden it. We're all
yeah.
aware of these dangers. We all know this can happen. It fucking
That's
sucks.
exactly.
It really, really does.
Yeah,
This is why you and I pound for, you'll never make this sport safe. It's racing dirt bikes,
that's
going really
right.
fast, jumping, but we want to do whatever we can to make it safer or somewhat reasonable. And
Yeah,
then when stuff like this happens, let's take a look at it. Let's not run from it. Let's, come together around his family. My heart bleeds for his family. You go there for a race and you leave without a family member. That's horrible.
yeah.
But
And I apologize because I did want to say his wrong name incorrectly. It's Jeremy Shuttleworth from Florida. I didn't want you to think, if for those that are watching on video, I was distracted. I just didn't want to boff up his name. I don't know him personally, but like you said, based on what I've read, sounds like he has a young daughter and he has a young family. I don't know if his son is young or not, but they did allude to the fact that his daughter is young. So for those of you that are supporters, when it was Todd DeHoop and then obviously when Scott Sheik and his family and now this one, um, please go to Road to Recovery. Please, for a cup of coffee at Starbucks or something. It doesn't, if you look at how many views we got on the Deegan video, 20,000 plus, if each person donated $5, think about what that could do for that family. Money doesn't bring somebody back, but, I don't want to I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs and we talk about money and the desire to be independently wealthy. And we always say money doesn't buy happiness, but poverty doesn't buy shit. In the situation like this, for a family who's going to have medical bills and is going to have to deal with a lot, let's, as a community and as a family, let's try to contribute. Every little bit helps. A dollar saved is a dollar made, and you already got enough mental emotion and all that goes with it. So again, don't mean to start the show out somberly, but we want to, props to Connor. We want to think about Jeremy and his family, and just glad that you're feeling better. And hopefully, anybody that's gotten sick, whether you have the COVID or you don't have COVID, we hope you start to feel better soon.
yeah, wow. I didn't know you're going to steer it there, coach. That's gnarly. Like I said, I will say I'm glad that we recognized and we can celebrate the family. Unlike, there was a gentleman that died at the Supercross Futures here in Las Vegas. Most
Yeah,
people probably haven't heard about it because
right.
they did this supposed meeting on the second riders meeting. I knew like 5 riders that were there. I don't know why they would do stuff like that, but I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. It's hard as a promoter. You don't want to highlight these things. It's not fun. Nobody wants to do it, but I appreciate that they have paid respect.
Absolutely. And again, please support Road to Recovery. Fantastic organization. I know, talking with Todd, the way that they spearheaded the bills and getting the bills paid and arranged. And the people more intimately than I do. I know Jimmy Button and his mom started it, but everything I talked to Todd and his wife, the organization of what they do, words cannot even begin to describe how good Road to Recovery is.
Well, and Anita Button over there, and they're so good at knowing and telling the families what to do, what to expect
That's the key,
at
what to
a time of
expect.
need. Because
Yeah, absolutely.
it's just, yeah. So,
Well, think
yeah,
about it. How many of us have gone through, especially when you finally end up losing somebody, being injured significantly, that's bad enough. Becoming paralyzed, that's bad enough. Passing away, that's bad enough. But like you said, that word, what to expect, whether it's bills coming in, insurance claims, all that. I mean, my goodness, I know with my son breaking his collarbone, breaking his two wrists, all within a 12-month period, you pay monthly insurance, you have this large deductible. I had a huge deductible per year, and the way his two injuries fell, I had a $25,000 deductible. I lost 50,000 cash in a 12-month period just on deductibles, then 80-20 split. It just goes, and that was with two wrists and a collarbone. I can't even begin to imagine what they're going through. So please think about them. For all of our listeners, subscribers, please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And if you can help, please do.
and turning from that, we're going to go to a little bit of silly season stuff.
Okay.
It's hard to follow that though. That's tough. You take it like the silly season stuff,
But they deserve it. But they deserve it. And we're okay
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. Shane McElrath put up an interesting post. He has joined the Rocky Mountain KTM team, and I've gotten tagged in a lot of posts. People want to know what I think. Obviously, I have a history with this team. Well, before I go into my thoughts, Coach, what did you think of this post when you saw it come up?
I just don't understand why somebody would go and sign with a team for one of our big riders that had to go to court to get compensated. Sorry, it seems to be like this is almost like a kind of a pattern.
You're talking about Blake Baggett, who rode for the team, had a big
Yes.
contract, could not get his money, and ended up settling for a smaller amount.
Right. And it's not the first rider that's had to do that with this team. So yeah, I don't know. I wish the best for McElrath. I know that there's some discussions about who's going to be that second player on the team. But yeah, and then you feel bad for McElrath because of the way the musical chairs are falling. Where else could he go? And by no means am I saying the Rocky Mountain team is a low budget team. They do a very good job. I mean, their bikes are great. Look at Baggett. But when you look at Honda, Phil, Cowie, full, Yamaha, full. But what I was surprised with is we haven't heard McElrath in a while. That crazy back injury going out on him on a plane. We literally haven't heard his name all year long. And for him to come all of a sudden get back in all transparency, I thought Savachi would be the next, I thought Savachi would be there for sure. If I thought there was a second team member, I mean, we've been hearing that Max Anstey's coming over. I would have just, if you were to ask me a week ago, I'd say, well, of course, Savachi's going to stay, putting up good results even before this weekend. I mean, he's proven that he's got the speed. The bike's great. Looks like it's handling well. Team looks great. I love their team outfits. I shouldn't call them outfits because you get into that. Do we call it gear? Do we call it kits? Right. That's
gear,
another. Yeah. But no, I love the way the team looks. But in regards to all we can go off is what we've heard. Blake Baggett didn't come back with a 2-year deal, didn't come back the second year. We've all heard about the lawsuit. It's settled where nobody's allowed to talk about it once again. So
my thoughts. Okay.
Talk to me.
If I'm Shane McElrath, I got no options. I literally have no options.
Literally. He
signed with, he went with Tony Alessi and the MCR team. There were high expectations. We talked about him last year, and I thought he would be a consistent top 5 guy. Unfortunately, he got hurt. It just didn't happen for him. And then it wasn't, there's nothing. He's already kind of, when you go to MCR, you're already on the outs a little bit. And if you lose on the MCR team, that's it. That's pretty much a career ender. I mean, look at Justin Hill. He's a police officer now. So yeah. When I saw him pop up and everyone hit me up like, wow, did anyone sign there? They're not going to get paid. Well, you're not going to get paid if you buy your own bike either.
That's right.
I think it's okay. If you want to go somewhere where you just need the bike, the equipment, they've proven they can put together a team that will give you the equipment that you can win with. He thinks he can win. He's betting on himself. Just go ahead and you can assume whatever they promised him contract wise probably won't come through. But if you're betting on yourself, it's a great bet. I like the signing. I think it's a really good signing for Shane. I think it's a good signing for the team.
Yeah.
God, I hope it springboards him to something where he can actually make some money.
Well, here's where I think is interesting because that's what everybody kept saying why Savachi went there. All he's waiting for is for an unfortunate accident with one of the other colors because he keeps himself relevant. We get it. We've all been around the sport long enough, out of sight, out of mind. You're only as good as your last race, whatever coin term you want to put on that. And you look at the last couple of years that Rocky Mountain has had. We have Savachi on there right now. He's kept himself relevant. I thought this past weekend he showed that all of a sudden there might be some musical chairs. All of a sudden we see another level of performance out of him. Justin Bogle's on the team. He got a really good start. You know, he showed that he's back up there, a name that we haven't seen much of. It just seems like that team is the one to go to stay relevant, to, you know, like you said, great equipment, good looking good looking gear, the whole 9 yards. But if you're not there, nobody's going to be talking about McElrath if he's at home practicing on his home track, as you said, paying for his own bikes, prepping his own track, where he's going to have that at at Rocky Mountain, which is great. What I just hope, well, you can't even say that because I say I hope he gets a shot, but the only way he's going to get a shot is if somebody gets hurt, and I don't want anybody to get hurt. So I just see wherever that team can, whatever that team consists of.
If he can get through next year, put in some good results that get him some bonus money that will end up in court.
Yeah,
if he can get to that level with this team, something will open up for next year.
Well, it could because of musical chairs. To your point exactly, we could almost do a graphic illustration as to who 450 wise, whose contracts are up next year. That's where you got to look at Yamaha, who's on a 1 year, 2 year, who's up.
Coach, put it on the podium consistently in the 450 class. Somebody will find a spot. That's
true. No, that's
it's pretty simple. I mean, you don't have to lay it all out. Just if you can put it on the podium, someone's going to have a team. Somebody like Bobby Hewitt's going to come up with money because he's going to say, oh, I got this guy. Something will happen if you can put it on the podium. Now, your 10th place, probably not.
Well, and you bring up a very, very good point. When you've got a Savachi, when you've got a Justin Bogle, you can use that. I mean, I want the listeners to think about the difficult challenge of having a team. You want to go offer a rider money, but without the sponsors, you can't make that offer. And without the sponsors, you can't make the offer to the rider. It's a very, very tough situation to be in. So when you look at the riders that they've had, Savachi, Bogle, now McElrath, that gives it gives the team more opportunity to get more money, to go racing, have better equipment, which is great. But I guess my question would be is, let's say McElrath does go out and slay it and he's up there running top 3 or 4. Do you really think that Honda's going to go to a 3-person 450 team? I wouldn't. I don't see Cowie going to a 3-person. We are going to see KTM going to a 3-person next year. So that'll be interesting to see. You can't, here's my point. You can't, doing it. Since when have they had a 3-person team?
They haven't, but I'm telling you, if you get a guy that's that good that becomes available at a decent salary, things happen. They might not put him on a 3rd bike for that team, but maybe they'll put him on a satellite team under a factory bike. They can always come up with something, Coach.
I agree.
You've got results.
No, I agree. And we saw that when Brock Tickle. Like when Brock, go ahead, excuse me.
Oh yeah. Like Wyndham, he had his deal that was separate from Honda. He was factory Honda, but he wasn't factory Honda.
And that's when he was at Geico, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at Brock Tickle, Mitch Payton stuck to his word. He promised him a 450. So he had a 450 out of the 250 Pro Circuit rig. Cowie was helping with that. For the sake of the listeners, I don't disagree with you. I just think it's very, very cool that the team is giving him that opportunity.